He wanted no strings attached, until he discovered she was pure and offered a lifetime instead. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our main character. Jack Anderson was the kind of man who had it all: success, charm, and a lifestyle that most would envy. At 28, he had already made a name for himself in the world of finance. He had an apartment that overlooked the city skyline, a brand new sports car, and a schedule packed with meetings, social events, and endless opportunities to network. But despite all of that, Jack had one simple rule when it came to relationships: no strings attached. He wasn't the kind of guy who believed in long-term commitment or settling down. The idea of being tied to one person for the rest of his life seemed suffocating, unnecessary. For him, love was an experience, something to enjoy in the moment, without the burden of expectations. His friends admired his carefree attitude, often joking about his many short-term relationships. They were all the same to him: casual, easy, with no emotional baggage. It wasn't that he didn't like women, far from it. Jack was charming, attractive, and could easily win anyone's heart. But that was the problem. He didn't want to win anyone's heart. He didn't want to deal with the complexities of deep emotions, the baggage that came with serious relationships. One Friday evening, Jack's life would change in a way he never expected. He attended a party hosted by one of his business associates, expecting the usual crowd of eager professionals, aspiring entrepreneurs, and maybe a few random strangers. But when he walked into the room, his eyes immediately landed on someone completely different. Emily Carter was standing by the bar, casually chatting with a few people, her laugh light and genuine. She wasn't like the others, she wasn't trying to impress anyone, wasn't wearing a dress that screamed for attention. She was simply herself. Her beauty was understated, but it was the kind of beauty that made you look twice, the kind that lingered in your mind long after you'd left the room. There was something about her that caught Jack off guard. She wasn't wearing the usual facade that most women in his circle did. Emily wasn't trying to get his attention, which made her even more intriguing to him. He found himself gravitating toward her, drawn in by her authenticity. He'd never met anyone quite like her before. It wasn't just her looks, it was the way she carried herself, her calm demeanor, and the way she spoke with such sincerity. She wasn't playing any games. She was genuine, and that was something Jack didn't quite know how to handle. Emily didn't seem interested in the usual banter that Jack was used to with other women. She wasn't impressed by his job title or the expensive watch on his wrist. Instead, she seemed to be more interested in getting to know him as a person. At first, Jack found this refreshing, but as the night wore on, he began to feel something he hadn't felt in a long time: a desire to know her better, to understand what made her tick. And that, more than anything, scared him. He wasn't looking for commitment, not now, not ever. But Emily, there was something about her that made him question everything he thought he knew about relationships. Little did he know, this chance encounter was the beginning of a journey that would challenge his beliefs and change his life forever. Jack found himself thinking about Emily more than he cared to admit. He couldn't shake the image of her laugh, the way her eyes sparkled when she spoke, and the calm energy she exuded. It was different from anyone he'd met before. Most women in his life were like a whirlwind, full of excitement and chaos, their attention focused on impressing others. Emily, on the other hand, seemed unaffected by the world around her. She was content just being herself. It was refreshing, but also unsettling. Jack wasn't used to this feeling. It had been weeks since that first encounter, and every time he thought about her, he felt a strange tug in his chest. It wasn't something he was used to. He had always been in control of his emotions, never allowing anyone to get too close. But Emily, she was different. He had tried to push her out of his mind, to return to his usual routine of short-term flings and casual relationships. But it wasn't working. He found himself looking for excuses to bump into her again. He started showing up at the same social gatherings, hoping to catch a glimpse of her, hoping for just another conversation. When they finally spoke again, Jack realized how much he had missed their easy, unforced connection. Their conversations were effortless, and for the first time in a long while, Jack didn't feel the need to impress her. It was just the two of them, talking about everything and nothing. As time went on, Jack began to notice things about Emily that only deepened his admiration for her. She was kind, thoughtful, and had a way of seeing the world with a clarity he didn't often encounter. She didn't get caught up in the drama of life, choosing instead to focus on the things that mattered to her, her friends, her work, and most importantly, the things that made her happy. The more Jack got to know her, the more he realized just how different she was from the women he usually surrounded himself with. Emily didn't need validation from anyone. She wasn't trying to live up to anyone's expectations. Jack had always been drawn to confident people, but there was something about Emily's quiet confidence that made her stand out. It wasn't about flaunting her success or drawing attention to herself. It was about being grounded in who she was, unshakable in her values. One evening, Jack invited her out for dinner, thinking it would be a casual get-together like any other. But as the night went on, he found himself feeling something he hadn't expected, a deep sense of respect for her. She was genuine, kind, and incredibly wise. Jack realized that, for the first time, he wasn't just interested in her physically, there was something far deeper at play. He was beginning to understand that maybe he had been wrong all along. Maybe there was more to relationships than the thrill of the chase. Maybe there was something more to life than being free from commitment. As they talked into the night, Jack felt the walls he had built around himself begin to crack. Emily didn't try to change him or pressure him into anything. She simply listened, understood, and offered her own thoughts in a way that made him see things in a new light. Jack left the dinner that night with a lot on his mind. He couldn't stop thinking about what Emily had said, how she made him see things from a different perspective. For the first time in years, he wondered if maybe, just maybe, he was ready for something more than he had ever imagined. Maybe it was time to let go of his old beliefs and embrace the possibility of something real. Jack couldn't stop thinking about the dinner he'd had with Emily. The conversation had lingered in his mind for days, and the more he thought about it, the more he realized how much she had affected him. He wasn't used to feeling so vulnerable, so open. He had always been the one in control, the one who decided when a relationship would start and when it would end. But with Emily, things felt different. She had a way of making him see the world in a way he had never seen before. He found himself questioning everything he had believed about relationships, about love, and about what he truly wanted. The walls he had spent years building around his heart were starting to crumble, and it terrified him. Jack wasn't sure he was ready to let go of his old ways, but at the same time, he couldn't deny the pull he felt toward Emily. He didn't want to lose her, but he also didn't want to change everything about his life. It felt like he was standing on the edge of a cliff, unsure whether to jump or turn back. He knew he had to make a choice. A week later, Jack called Emily. He had thought about it long and hard, and he finally realized that he couldn't keep pretending that he didn't care. He needed to know if there was a chance for something real between them. They agreed to meet at a cafe downtown, a quiet place where they could talk without distractions. When Jack arrived, he saw Emily sitting at a table by the window, looking as calm and composed as ever. She smiled when she saw him, and for a moment, Jack felt a sense of peace that he hadn't felt in a long time. As he sat down across from her, he realized how much he had come to admire her strength, her clarity, and the way she carried herself. It wasn't just her beauty, although that was undeniable, it was the way she was so sure of herself, so grounded in who she was. They talked about their lives, their experiences, and their hopes for the future. Jack listened more than he spoke, feeling like he was learning something new with every word she said. He realized that Emily wasn't just someone he could have a fling with, she was someone who could change his life, someone who made him want to be a better person. But there was still a part of him that was scared. The fear of commitment, of being tied down to one person, still lingered in the back of his mind. He didn't know if he was ready for that kind of change. Emily, sensing his hesitation, reached across the table and took his hand. Her touch was gentle, reassuring, as if she understood the turmoil he was going through. "Jack," she said softly, "I'm not asking you to change overnight. I'm not asking for anything you're not ready to give. But I just want you to know that I'm here. And if you ever feel like you're ready to try something real, I'll be waiting." Her words hit him harder than he expected. He felt something stir deep within him, a desire, a hope, a longing for something more than what he had been living. For the first time in his life, Jack felt like he could see a future beyond his own selfish desires. He didn't know what that future looked like yet, but he was willing to take the first step. "I don't know if I'm ready," Jack admitted, his voice low. "But I want to try. I don't want to lose you." Emily smiled, her eyes filled with warmth and understanding. "That's all I need to hear," she said. And in that moment, Jack knew that he was ready to take a leap of faith toward Emily, toward a future he had never imagined. It wasn't going to be easy. It wasn't going to be perfect. But for the first time, he felt like he was finally ready to give up his old ways and embrace something real. Jack had made the decision. He was going to give this a chance, no matter how scared he felt. But even with the certainty that he wanted to be with Emily, a part of him still struggled with the idea of truly letting go of his old life. He had been the master of casual relationships for so long, and the thought of giving all that up for something real was daunting. He knew it wasn't going to be easy. It was going to take time, patience, and a willingness to change. But every time he saw Emily, every time they talked, he felt more and more certain that this was the right path. They spent the next few weeks getting to know each other even more. They shared stories from their childhoods, their dreams for the future, and their fears about the unknown. Jack was surprised by how much he enjoyed these conversations. He had always seen himself as someone who preferred to keep things light and superficial, but with Emily, it felt different. There was a depth to their connection that made everything feel more meaningful. They started doing things together, simple things like cooking dinner, going on long walks through the park, or watching movies on a rainy afternoon. And with each new experience, Jack found himself growing more attached to her. The casual nature of their early interactions faded away, replaced by something much stronger. Emily never pressured him to move faster than he was ready. She understood that he needed time to adjust, to overcome the fear that had held him back for so long. She didn't push him for answers or try to force him into a commitment. Instead, she simply offered her support, her patience, and her love. Jack knew he was lucky to have found someone like her. But there was still a voice in the back of his mind telling him to be careful. He had always been afraid of getting hurt, of giving someone the power to break him. And yet, with Emily, he didn't feel that fear as strongly as he had in the past. Her trust in him, her belief in their potential together, made him want to believe in it too. One night, as they were sitting on the couch watching a movie, Emily turned to Jack and asked him a question that took him by surprise. "What do you want, Jack? I mean, really want? What kind of future do you see for us?" Jack looked at her for a moment, his heart racing. He had never really thought about the future before, not in the way Emily was asking. For the first time, he realized that he was starting to see it. He wasn't just seeing the present, the casual dates, the fun moments. He was seeing a future with Emily. A future where they built something together, where they supported each other through the ups and downs of life. I see us, Emily," Jack said slowly, feeling the weight of the words as they left his mouth. "I see us together. For the long haul." Emily's eyes softened, and she smiled. "That's all I needed to hear." And in that moment, Jack knew that everything had changed. He wasn't afraid anymore. He was ready. Ready for the future. Ready for the life they could build together. It wasn't going to be easy, and it wasn't going to be perfect. But it was real. And for the first time in a long time, Jack was ready to give his heart completely to someone else. Jack and Emily had settled into a rhythm that felt natural, a rhythm that didn't rush them but allowed them to grow together. Jack found himself doing things he had never imagined he would, making plans, talking about a future that involved more than just himself. He had been used to thinking of his life in terms of his own ambitions, his own goals. But now, every decision he made seemed to be intertwined with Emily's presence. He began to realize just how much she had come to mean to him, how much she had already shaped his world. It was like she had slipped into his heart without him even noticing, and now he couldn't picture his life without her in it. One Saturday morning, they woke up early, the sunlight streaming through the windows of Jack's apartment. Emily was sitting on the couch, reading a book, her hair falling softly around her face. Jack watched her for a moment, thinking about how much she had brought into his life. She was calm, steady, and so different from the whirlwind of people he had surrounded himself with in the past. They made breakfast together, laughing over spilled flour and trying to perfect the pancakes. It was simple, but it was moments like this that made Jack realize just how much he wanted her star. After breakfast, they went for a walk through the neighborhood, holding hands, talking about everything and nothing. The city felt different when they were together, quieter somehow, as though they were the only two people who mattered in the world. Emily's presence gave everything a sense of peace that Jack hadn't known he was missing. As they walked, Jack stopped and turned to her. "You know," he said, his voice suddenly serious, "I've been thinking a lot about what you said that night. About the future." Emily smiled, her eyes full of understanding. "I'm glad," she said softly. "You don't have to have it all figured out right now, Jack. We're in this together, and I'm not going anywhere." Her words meant more to him than he could say. He felt a lump in his throat, a sudden swell of emotion that he wasn't used to. He realized how much he needed her, how much he wanted to build something lasting, something real with her. "I'm ready," Jack said quietly. "I'm ready for us. I'm ready to see where this goes, wherever it takes us." Emily squeezed his hand, and for the first time in a long time, Jack felt truly at peace. The fear that had once held him back, the fear of losing himself, was gone. He had found something that was worth more than his freedom. He had found someone who made him want to be better, someone who didn't just accept him as he was, but challenged him to grow. They continued their walk, their hands entwined, their hearts beating in sync. Jack knew the road ahead wouldn't always be easy. There would be challenges, moments of doubt, but for the first time in his life, he was ready to face them head-on. Together. With Emily by his side, Jack felt like he could take on the world. And no matter what came next, he knew he wasn't going to let her go. As the weeks passed, Jack and Emily's relationship grew stronger, and Jack found himself more comfortable than ever in this new dynamic. He had been nervous at first about letting go of his old ways, but now, every moment with Emily felt like a step closer to something real. Something lasting. The more time they spent together, the more Jack realized how deeply he had fallen for her. It wasn't just about the small moments they shared, like cooking dinner or walking hand in hand through the city streets. It was the way Emily made him feel, like he could be himself without the need to impress, without the walls he had once built to protect his heart. Jack had never allowed anyone to get so close before. He had always kept a distance, preferring the ease of casual relationships over the vulnerability of something deeper. But with Emily, it felt natural to let go, to trust her with parts of himself he had never shared with anyone. One Saturday evening, they decided to take a weekend getaway to a small lakeside cabin. The place was secluded, tucked away in the woods, a perfect retreat for the two of them to escape the hustle and bustle of city life. The cabin was cozy, with large windows that looked out over the calm waters of the lake. The peacefulness of the place made everything feel more intimate. They spent the weekend hiking, cooking meals together, and sitting by the fire, talking about their dreams and their plans for the future. For the first time in a long time, Jack found himself thinking about what kind of future he wanted. It wasn't just about his career or his personal goals anymore. It was about Emily. About building a life with her. The weekend was a turning point for Jack. He realized that his feelings for Emily went far beyond infatuation or the novelty of a new relationship. He was in love with her, and he wasn't afraid to admit it anymore. They had spent years of their lives waiting for the right person, and now, Jack knew that Emily was the one. He couldn't imagine his life without her. On the last night of their trip, as they sat on the porch of the cabin, watching the stars twinkle above the lake, Jack turned to Emily, his heart racing. He had been thinking about this moment for a long time. "Emily," he began, his voice soft but steady. "There's something I need to tell you. Something I've known for a while, but I think I've been afraid to say it." Emily looked at him, her eyes filled with curiosity and warmth. "What is it, Jack?" she asked gently. Jack took a deep breath, his mind clear now, his heart open. "I love you," he said, his voice full of sincerity. "I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you." Emily's smile spread across her face, and she took his hand, squeezing it softly. "I love you too, Jack," she whispered, her voice just as sincere. In that moment, as they sat together, the world around them felt still and perfect. Jack knew that everything had changed, and it had changed for the better. He had found the one person who made him feel truly alive, and now he was ready to build a future with her, a future filled with love, trust, and everything they both dreamed of. And as the night stretched on, they knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, together. The months that followed Jack and Emily's declaration of love were filled with a new sense of purpose and excitement. Jack had never imagined that he would be the type of person who would focus so much on the future, but with Emily, everything felt different. He found himself making decisions with her in mind, considering what would make both of them happy in the long run. It wasn't just about his career anymore or the fast-paced life he had lived. Now, his thoughts were about their life together, building something meaningful. They continued to grow closer, spending time together in ways that allowed them to learn more about each other's hopes, dreams, and vulnerabilities. Jack loved how Emily made him feel grounded, how her presence in his life brought him a sense of peace and clarity that he had never experienced before. Emily, too, had begun to imagine a future with Jack. She knew he had his fears, his hesitations, and she respected that. She never pushed him to move faster than he was ready to. Instead, she gave him the space to explore his feelings, while also showing him that there was no pressure, just love and support. One evening, they decided to take a trip to the countryside, to a small vineyard they had heard about. It was a weekend getaway, just the two of them, to spend some quiet time together and enjoy each other's company. The vineyard was tucked away in a valley, surrounded by rolling hills covered in rows of grapevines. The air was fresh, and the sun cast a warm golden glow over everything. They spent the day walking through the vineyards, tasting different wines, and laughing about the most random things. For Jack, it was the perfect escape from the busy world, a chance to reconnect with Emily without any distractions. As they sat at a rustic table in the vineyard's tasting room, sipping wine and watching the sun set behind the hills, Jack felt a moment of clarity. He looked at Emily, her face illuminated by the soft glow of the evening light, and realized that this was exactly where he wanted to be. This was the life he had imagined, not the lonely existence he had lived before. He wanted more than just a fleeting connection, he wanted a partnership, a deep bond that would stand the test of time. "Emily," Jack said, his voice soft, but full of certainty. "I've been thinking a lot about us. About everything we've shared so far. And I just want you to know that this, us, it's everything I've ever wanted." Emily smiled, her eyes filled with tenderness. "I feel the same way, Jack. I've never felt this way before. I know we have challenges ahead, but I'm ready to face them with you." Jack's heart swelled with gratitude. For the first time, he felt completely at peace with where his life was heading. He had no idea what the future held, but with Emily by his side, he knew he could handle whatever came their way. They spent the rest of the evening in comfortable silence, enjoying the warmth of the moment, knowing that they had both found something rare and beautiful. It wasn't just love. It was a partnership, built on trust, respect, and the desire to grow together. As the stars began to appear in the sky, Jack leaned over and kissed Emily gently, feeling the weight of the moment. It wasn't just a kiss, it was a promise. A promise that no matter what happened in life, they would face it together, side by side. And in that moment, with the quiet sounds of the vineyard around them, they both knew that their journey was just beginning. The following months felt like a dream for Jack and Emily, filled with deep conversations, shared experiences, and quiet moments of connection that only grew stronger with time. They had returned from their weekend at the vineyard with a renewed sense of clarity about their relationship, and Jack knew he was no longer the same person he had been when he first met Emily. He had changed, and he was happy about it. Emily had a way of making everything feel more meaningful, teaching him to slow down, to appreciate the simple things, and to open his heart to the possibilities of the future. It wasn't just about living in the moment anymore, it was about creating a future that made sense for both of them. They started planning small trips together, getting to know each other's families, and looking at apartments in the city. For Jack, these weren't just simple activities, they were stepping stones to something more significant. For the first time in his life, he wasn't afraid of the future. He looked forward to it with excitement, knowing that Emily would be there with him, building a life side by side. One evening, as they sat together in Jack's apartment, enjoying a quiet dinner, Emily turned to him with a thoughtful look on her face. "Jack," she said, her voice soft but serious, "have you thought about what you want for us long term? I mean, we've been together for a while now, and I feel like we're ready for the next step." Jack set down his glass of wine and looked at her, his heart racing a little. He had thought about it, more than once, actually, but hearing her say it out loud made it feel more real. "I've thought about it," he said, his voice steady but filled with warmth. "And I know exactly what I want. I want you, Emily. I want us, together, forever. I don't want to waste any more time." Emily smiled, her eyes shining with affection. "I feel the same way," she said, her voice filled with certainty. "I know we've had our ups and downs, but I really believe that we're right for each other. And I'm ready for whatever comes next." The words hung in the air, a promise, a commitment that both of them had been quietly waiting for. They both knew that their journey wasn't going to be perfect, that there would be challenges ahead. But with the love and respect they shared, Jack felt confident that they could face anything together. As the evening wore on, they talked more about their future, about the possibilities that lay ahead. Jack realized just how far they had come since that first meeting. What had started as something casual, something he never expected to evolve into anything serious, had blossomed into a relationship that was as deep as it was meaningful. He had never believed in soulmates, never thought that there was someone out there who was truly made for him. But Emily had proven him wrong. She was the one who made him believe in the power of love, the kind of love that wasn't just about chemistry or attraction, but about partnership, trust, and growth. They sat there, lost in conversation, their hearts aligned, knowing that whatever the future held, they would face it together. The world around them seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of them in their own little world, where nothing else mattered. Jack knew that no matter where life took them, they would always have each other. And that was enough. Together, they were ready to take on whatever came next. As the seasons passed, Jack and Emily's relationship blossomed in ways neither of them had anticipated. Their love grew deeper, stronger, and more profound as they continued to share their lives with each other. What had started as a chance encounter had now become something solid, something that neither of them could imagine living without. Jack found himself thinking about Emily constantly, and with every passing day, he realized just how much she meant to him. It wasn't just about the connection they had, it was the way she made him feel like he was enough, the way she inspired him to be better. Emily brought out the best in him, and he had never felt so at peace with himself. They had started living together a few months ago, and the transition had been seamless. There was an ease to it, a quiet understanding that this was where they were meant to be. Their apartment felt like home, with the little things, shared meals, late-night talks, and the comfort of knowing they were building something real together. They made plans for the future, little ones and big ones. They talked about traveling the world, exploring new places, and someday having a family. Jack never thought he'd be someone who would consider settling down, but with Emily, the idea didn't scare him anymore. It felt right. One afternoon, while they were walking through the park near their apartment, Jack took Emily's hand and stopped to look at her. There was something in his eyes, a look she hadn't seen before. "Emily," he began, his voice a little shakier than usual, "I've been thinking a lot lately. About us. About everything we've been through together. And I realize that I can't imagine my life without you. I never want to live without you. Emily looked at him, her heart swelling with emotion. She had known for a long time how much Jack meant to her, but hearing him say those words made her heart sore. Jack, she whispered, I feel the same way. You're everything I've ever wanted, and more. I've never felt so sure of anything in my life. Jack smiled, his heart full of love and gratitude. So, would you make me the happiest man in the world and marry me? He asked, his voice filled with tenderness. Emily's eyes filled with tears as she nodded, a smile spreading across her face. Yes, she said, barely able to contain her joy. Yes, Jack, I will marry you. In that moment, everything felt perfect. The world around them seemed to disappear, and it was just the two of them, standing together, knowing that they were about to embark on the greatest adventure of their lives. Jack felt a sense of contentment wash over him. This was it, this was the life he had always been searching for. The love he had with Emily was everything he had never realized he wanted, and now, with her by his side, he knew there was nothing they couldn't face. The rest of their journey was just beginning, and Jack couldn't wait to see where it would take them. Together, they had everything they needed to create a future full of love, laughter, and endless possibilities. I end this engaging tale of transformation and love. A young millionaire named Jack Anderson finds himself entangled in a journey that changes his outlook on life and relationships. Initially, Jack sought only casual, no-strings-attached encounters, but as fate would have it, he meets Emily Carter, a woman who challenges everything he believed about love and commitment. This millionaire story takes us on an emotional rollercoaster, where Jack goes from a carefree, commitment-phobic bachelor to someone ready to embrace the future with someone he truly loves. The two begin a beautiful relationship that grows stronger. As they experience life together, facing challenges, sharing dreams, and learning about themselves in the process. Through their evolving connection, Jack realizes that he has found something deeper than he ever expected in this heartfelt millionaire story. What started as a casual fling slowly transforms into a bond built on trust, mutual respect, and love. As they continue to build a life together, Jack finds that the love he once thought was impossible is now the very thing that drives him to change and grow. This millionaire story shows how the unexpected can often lead to the most meaningful relationships. With each new chapter, Jack's realization of what he truly wants in life becomes clearer, and Emily proves to be the person who has the power to help him unlock the deepest parts of his heart. From casual encounters to a lifetime commitment, this millionaire story proves that love can indeed change the course of one's life. The couple embarks on a new chapter of their lives, knowing that with each other's support, the possibilities are endless. These millionaire stories are filled with inspiration, proving that even the most unexpected relationships can lead to lifelong happiness and fulfillment.